Today I'm developing this recipe to solve one of my pet peeves, and it's just a stylistic thing, but it drives me crazy personally when we have a series of fields on a class, some of which have annotations, and there's like no blank line between this field C with an annotation and the one B above it. It's just a small little thing. Somehow over time I've done things like this. I just put a blank line, between. I just try to put some visual space around a field with an annotation so that it kind of pops a little bit more. It looks distinct from the other fields around it. So I wrote this recipe: blank lines around fields with annotations. Add a blank line around fields with annotations. Uses the visitor pattern. I'm looking for statements. I'm looking for whether that statement is a variable declaration, whether its preceding statement is a variable, whether it has an annotation, and I'm adding the prefix with the blank line if needed. So not the most complicated recipe, not the simplest recipe. I wrote a unit test for it. The unit test passes. And what I find is I'm still just a little unsure whether I can just run this on 100 repos in my organization right now, and it just does everything the right way. And so traditionally I would think I'm going to commit this recipe, I'm going to deploy it to our Moderne SaaS, I'm going to run the recipe over there, I'm going to review all the changes, issue a bunch of PRs, and maybe if all those get accepted and everything's great, I'll add this recipe to the set of standard expectations for recipes, so that new people submitting PRs to our code base would benefit from this, this stylistic preference. And then I remembered that we just wrote this Moderne IntelliJ integration where effectively I've pulled down the lossless semantic trees for the entire OpenRewrite organization already to my IDE. So I've really got a representation of all of these other repositories that I may want to apply this opinion to already here on my machine. And so rather than being uncertain about my recipe, I can just go to my recipe and see now there's, with the Moderne plugin installed in IntelliJ, there's now a run icon next to a recipe class, and I can just run it. And this is going to run the recipe that I have in the IDE right here without me having to produce a jar or anything. It's going to run the code of this recipe on all of these repositories without any data leaving my computer. It's just gonna run on the LST artifact that I've pulled down to my machine here. And as this recipe runs and we iterate over these repositories and it makes changes, those changes are going to come back into this view, this run view, as diffs. So here we can see this was my unit test, but this is an actual recipe in Rewrite AI Search, another repository I don't have open right now, that had that problem where there's non-final and nullable annotations on a field that don't have a blank line between them, and it adds the blank line. So we've moved on from Rewrite AI Search. Rewrite All doesn't have any occurrences, so there's no results in that one. Rewrite Analysis is still running right now. You can see in Rewrite Analysis there's actually quite a few of these classes that have that pattern. See how I just kind of had getter just bumped right up against this field on top of it. And what I'm getting here really is confidence in this recipe that I didn't have otherwise. When I look at this change right here, I think, oh no, I didn't really even think about what if there's a comment on top of the annotation. Like, would I have like put the blank line between the comment and the annotation? But as it turns out, the way I wrote the recipe was correct. It handles the scenario the way I would expect to do it if I were writing it by hand. So I'm like gaining confidence in the recipe. You can see I pre-ran this earlier, and we're finding occurrences in rewrite Java dependencies. See, there's that nullable field without a blank line between it. We see it over here in partial path traversal. We see it in rewrite Kotlin, even on the data model here for Kotlin parser, just all over the place. And so rather than me having this like longer development cycle on a recipe, like this this period of time where I'm not super confident in it, I actually have a lot of confidence in this recipe right now. I'm going to commit it